We are on. We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 2024 Kickstart Invitational podcast, where we dive into the heart of the Kickstart Invitational. I'm of course, your host, Kyle Steffi, alongside Justin and Carter McPhail. Joining us today as well is Brendan McLaren. In each episode, we'll be bringing you exclusive insights, player profiles, behind-the-scenes interviews, and expert analysis of the latest development of the Kickstart Invitational. Carter, Justin, and most importantly, Mac, how are we doing tonight, fellas?
Doing good.
Doing great, Kyle. Thanks for having us on again.
Mackie, how you doing?
Doing good. Appreciate you guys having me on. This is going to be fun.
You guys might hear a little bit of a chatter just when I pressed recording there. We were running through the itinerary of the podcast, a little bit of behind the curtain, and Matt goes, I need a beer. He goes, this is stressful. A little bit on the slate today. We got a player profile. Sounds like the McPhail brothers are going through a profile of myself. And then joining us a little bit later, Mac has a special segment for you guys that he's been prepping over the last 2 weeks. So we're excited to unveil that. But Carter, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. We've talked about me, we've talked about Chase a little bit, and we had Dan on to talk through his player profiles. So I thought it would be, a good time to talk about our host. So I'll throw it over to you, Jay, for the behind the scenes and the numbers of the Carlisle Frazier first ever recipient of the Carlisle Frazier Unsung Hero Award, Kyle Steffi.
Yeah, first ever recipient of that Unsung Hero Award. 25-year-old, Fenton, Michigan, Grand Valley State graduate, played to a 21 last year. Favorite course on the trip was Pilgrim's Run. His favorite course ever was Majestic at Lake Walden. Career record of 0-2-2. I think that's probably why he ranked so highly in the Unsung Hero Award, but I'm sure Carter can talk a little bit more about that. Those two halves were really, really timely for the team, of course. His total scoring average is 11th, 80.25. Strokes gained total just under a -1, ranking 10th total there. So playing around the average, but behind pace of most of the other players. Obviously, that shows in his record a little bit, but it's real important, what he does off the course. So he had a phenomenal round at the Mines last year. Of course, we know a little bit about the trip's first net eagle. Carter, why don't you tell us a little bit about these are some of the tangibles, but why don't you tell us a little bit about the intangibles that Kyle Steffi brings?
Yeah, so a lot of people also don't, I'm sure they know, but don't realize that Kyle was the last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant. Even though I had the final 2 draft picks last year, I was going to take Kyle, but he, kind of shot me a look and a whisper that said, no, I want you to pick Dan and then pick me. I want to be last. So right then, I knew he had a little bit of that competitive edge in him. And also, just the scouting before that, in high school, Kyle was a varsity basketball player. The people forget, he wasn't necessarily in the starting 5, but he was effective coming off the bench. Could help get the ball moving around on the offensive side of the court, and then every once in a while he left the man alone in the corner, and that was 3 points and a soft jog back up the court. So I knew what he had to offer, and I was excited to get him. And then just I don't think, like you said, Jay, that record really reflects what he brought to the Conductors last year.
It doesn't, especially in the spotlight of that second round at Diamond Springs. We love to talk about it, of course, but sticking to his guns, sticking to his game plan, just the way you would expect him to do, and doinking that drive out there right in the middle of the fairway, and then running one up right to the back of the green and getting himself a 2-putt par to seal the have in the match. And you know it's a scary place to be even for somebody that plays golf every day, or is around golf every day. So for somebody that I think Kyle would probably agree is closer to a little bit of a beginner than a lot of the guys on the trip, um, stood in there and took his licks and came out on top, or earned some very, very important half points. And so that 0-2-2 record, um, obviously everybody felt like he was a big part of that. So that's how he ended up as the Carlisle Fraser unsung hero.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it and you think, 36 holes in one day is not something that I'm sure Kyle had really, really prepped for overly. And then to be in a tight match on the last hole with the whole group watching, three
Yeah.
guys go up there and just smash it out over the ravine, for him to just, kind of swallow it a little bit and be like, no, that's not my game plan. Plunk his driver out there and then hit a 4-iron into that green
Yep.
and get a crucial half point for the Conductors. I mean, like that's being a guy coming off the bench and getting it done, right? With a lot of spotlight on some other guys on our team, having him there is just kind of what put us over the edge to bring home the cup this year.
Yeah. So we know a little bit about, the way that draft order, got really flipped around last year. You end up having the first 2 picks and the last 2 picks kind of before we get to um, what we got for a segment later on. Tell us, Carter, if you can, a little bit about what the thought process is as you're watching Preston pick off those guys at the end. Are you just, Jesus, take the wheel, let the couple guys fall to whoever they fall, or are you sitting there hoping for certain guys, or you don't have to name names, but were you hoping some guys would fall to you, and was it hopefully the couple guys that did?
Yeah, looking at the draft last year, um, with more guys, with kind of a more spread out kind of handicap range.
Because there's a real bold strategy to trade picks in just a 10-player draft.
Right. So I had to give up a lot to try to get a lot, right? And I mean, what happened. There was 2 high handicappers, in Kyle and in Connor. And, as the draft was going on, I was, hoping that, if I'm going to end up with one of these 2 guys, right? Like Preston, I don't think, would have wanted to take both of them.
Sure.
Even
He
though,
didn't have the personal knowledge of everybody that you did, for sure. So
right. So just looking at the numbers, I mean, I thought about it for a while. Like, do you just take Connor and Kyle and put them in the cart together and see if they can just swallow somebody up with strokes? Like,
yeah, just throw all your dots at somebody and
I still wonder
see
if
what
that could
happens.
work too.
I
Yeah.
mean, you put them out against Trick, who was playing as a 6, and
Yep.
I mean, these guys are getting 12 or more strokes. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot, especially for
Right.
Kyle, a guy who can make pars. I mean, Fetty can too. Thing is, right, like they can both make double, and if they do it on the same hole, it's gonna
Sure, they
you can
might
get
not
on
be
it.
in every hole together, and if it's one of their holes with dots,
Right.
you're really start to
So,
get behind quick.
I kind of looked at it and thought, you know, I think Kyle's a little bit of the safer route, and I wanted him. I was fortunate that I got him late. But I think, if I didn't have the trade go down, I think I would have picked Kyle before Preston picked Fetty.
Earlier on
in the
in the draft,
yeah.
sure.
I know. I remember all of us talking. I remember the group chat was kind of buzzing within the month of the Kickstart, and I remember Fetty and Preston kicking it off, and I was like, he's gonna draft him. And I'm gonna go last, which is fine with me. I'm gonna go last again this year, I'm sure. But I remember I was thinking to myself, Preston was gonna go get Fetty.
He gravitated towards those hockey guys for sure. We saw it, by taking Trick when he wasn't even present for the draft. He had never met him in person before. But I think he saw that 6 number, and he definitely saw, potential in going and getting a low handicapper like that, and somebody that can be intimidating out there for some people. We're going to talk more about draft strategy as we move through this episode, but for sure that was a weird one. We texted about it today in our group chat about how kind of weird the draft is, and I'll touch on it a little bit because it's something we talked about at the board level before. Is this is the only competition really in the world where the champion gets to pick first, right? Every other sport, every other competition, the team that finishes last, or the defending, I guess the non-defending team, would get to pick first. But it's a little bit of a reward for the returning captain to kind of build some continuity, go out there and get somebody that he's either had in the past or somebody that he is really, really targeting. And I think the trades in such a short draft can really sway the strategy really, really out of whack a little bit. So we'll see if there's any trades made again this year. I would think that Chase is a little less apt to give up that number 2 pick for sure, but maybe something down at the bottom. Maybe somebody, maybe he wants to move up a little bit off of that 10 spot, or get something bonus in kind of the middle rounds. But we'll see what shakes out.
I think that's the fun thing too about this draft is and especially playing with the handicaps that we are and the fluctuation year to year. Like if I remember correctly, I remember Carter saying Mac was like a 18 or 20 handicap your guys' first year.
18 the first year, 15 the second year.
Balled out, and then his handicap went way down.
He plummeted. Totally plummeted.
And so you went first again, and what looked like a good first pick again. Mac didn't have his best showing last year, and it's no disrespect to him. I'd say it again if he was still on the screen with us. We had lost him, but nevertheless, that's kind of the fun thing about the draft is you think you got a guy, and for some of these dudes, Tricky Justin, even Cullen, Cody, there's some guys that aren't letting you down, but there's also a little bit of that fluctuation that can happen at the top or the bottom of the draft that I think is fun.
Yeah, there's some known quantities, at least closer to anyway.
Right.
But you got to also consider we're pretty lucky for everyone to play relatively close to their handicap, because in something like this where even not everybody has a gin number and records all their scores and stuff, the fact that we can kind of estimate people's handicaps and have a really close competition the last 2 years is pretty lucky. I think it shows that guys are committed to the equity of the competition. Nobody's really out there really sandbagging, or really cares about their record so much that they're gonna beg and plead for more dots or anything. And nobody's complained about the number of dots really throughout the event either. And I think we've been really fortunate to get some close competitions, because you can have a Ryder Cup style match, tons and tons of golf trips happen like this every single year. And, not every competition ends up being 8-7, right?
Right.
A lot of times these competitions end up being, 14-1, stuff like that, just because some guys play a little closer to their handicap and other guys don't. And if you get a handful of those guys all on the same team, then, you might not have a great competition. So I think we've been lucky and fortunate in that sense.
I
Yeah,
wanted to go
no,
back. Oh, go ahead,
Go ahead.
Carter.
Cal. Go ahead.
I wanted to go back to the gin number and the 18 birdies. Talk to me like I'm 5.
Okay.
What's the difference between the 18 birdies handicap and the gin number handicap?
So I don't
anything.
know. Carter will have to fill in a little bit of this. So gin has a very rigid algorithm for how it calculates
It
the
did, however, just update for 2024.
18 birdies
little
did.
Gin is now accepting 9-hole scores
Yep.
straight and not completed rounds based on a likely finishing score.
Yeah. So
that they have.
that's a big part of it, where some guys, if they were interested in getting a gin versus an 18 birdies, guys that play more 9-hole rounds are going to be able to get some scores in and get a real gin handicap. But what I was getting to initially was that gin has a really, really strict algorithm that it goes off of. The courses are re-rated. The courses are rated from each set of tees. They're re-rated every X number of years. And so the courses can kind of adjust over time. And I don't know that 18 birdies is as fluid. And then Carter, is it true that 18 birdies you can mark certain rounds as not counting because you might have, played by a different set of rules, or rather than, going out of bounds, rather than playing something as out of bounds and re-hitting from where you're at, doing some Irish drops and hazard rules and sort of some stuff like that.
So yeah, it has an option for it's called you can make it a scramble round. So
Okay.
it still records your round. You record all of your statistics and things the same. But it doesn't calculate for your handicap.
Sure.
The handicap from 18 birdies is based still on the course rating, tee to tee, also
Yep.
slope rating, and it's also so it's your score minus the rating times 113 divided by the slope of the course.
So that's the same algorithm as gin. Does it use that? Does it also use the best 8 of your last 20 in 18
Yeah.
birdies?
I
I'm
believe
pretty sure of that one.
that it does, yes.
Okay. So in the past it hadn't, and I think some guys on the trip, because of how, I don't want to say like dedicated to getting a true handicap, but because they were not trying to bias their handicap in any way, we still ended up with some really accurate handicap indexes from some guys that use 18 birdies. So it like I was saying, it really hasn't been an issue. I don't see it being an issue for us. But if you were going to turn around and play some Michigan Open qualifiers, or something like that, then obviously you're gonna need to get an actual gin index.
Makes sense.
Right. And for those of you at home, my 18 birdies handicap is 4, and my gin is 4.8.
So it automatically rounds it, or it's 4.0 on 18 birdies.
Doesn't automatically round it. I know that.
It doesn't round, but shows as 4. But this shows that my best round was a 63. and I don't remember that occurring.
Would that be a 63 for 14 holes or 15 holes maybe?
Maybe. I have played a couple times this year already. I mean, I played 9 holes today. And these like kind of like spring rounds I've been playing, I've been doing scramble.
Sure.
Scramble like toggle on the 18 birdies so that it's not going in my thing just because I'm kind of out there whacking it around a little bit. But
Right. So you're still finding a scoring average at a time where Gin wouldn't let you post scores in Michigan or Ohio.
right. And for 18 birdies, if I am posting a score, sometimes it's playing a 2v2 match play against, 2 of my teammates or whatever. And when we play these kind of things, like it's a lot of, we call it playing with friendship.
Sure.
Where, 2 of us hit it in the woods and we can't find it. So we're both going to drop in the fairway and call it even.
Sure.
Those are the type of things that I don't post on my gin. And that's probably part of why my handicap's a little bit higher.
Sure.
0.1 stroke. I mean, like, you're not going to play exactly the handicap.
It's going to be maybe one. It's going to be maybe 1 stroke, almost never 2 strokes at an actual course. Carter, why don't you take us into our first advertisement of the day before we get to our guest who has ironed out his technical difficulties for the most part.
He's back and just in time because he loves this one. Like always, this week's episode is brought to you by Dunham Sports. Dunham's is your ultimate outdoor and sporting destination. Whether you're into hunting, fishing, or loving every day, Dunham's has everything you need. Right now, use code Kickstart24 for an exclusive 20% off on all golf gear and accessories. Exclusions may apply. Don't miss out on the fun. Visit Dunham's in-store or online at dunhamsports.com. Dunham's, where the great outdoors meets unbeatable savings.
God, I love it. And I know Mac loves it too.
That's great.
So, briefly introduced earlier, but obviously, friend of McLaren, Mac Bunk 08, deserves a little bit bigger of an intro. Now a special guest advisor actually for the Conductors, will not be able to participate in the 2024 season. So he is acting as a special advisor for the Conductors team. Mac Bunk is a back-to-back champ, back-to-back first overall pick. This guy knows how to win, and he knows how to win in the spotlight. He's also the 2023 high net, which is something I'm sure won't be replicated by him again.
Stat.
It is a tough stat, but Mac, welcome to the show. We are happy to have you for your first question before we get into it a little bit. Just general speaking, and it's general on purpose. What does the Kickstart mean to you?
Honestly, it means everything to me. It's the best golf tournament I've ever known, and will most likely be the only golf tournament I'm a part of every year. But yeah, I mean, it means the world to me. There's not a day that goes by where I don't think about it, honestly.
I think that can be said for all of us. I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking about this shit every single day, so I can relate.
It is absolutely the most addictive thing in the world is to be a part of this show. Before we dive into it deeper into your mock and your kind of what you've been picking and pulling at behind the scenes for the Conductors, tell us about the internship. Tell us about why you're not coming to the Kickstart this year. Brag it up a little bit. Let us know that what you've been doing.
Well, first off, very sad and it's depressing that I can't make it, but I mean, life happens, I guess. But yeah, I got one of the best internships in the country over in Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah, I don't know how it's gonna be. Have to find some.
Yoakum Noah, not a big fan of Cleveland.
Yeah, we'll see.
What a drop!
That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut. We might have to link that in the podcast. I'm sorry. I saw that on my Instagram today. It was absolutely perfect. I highly doubt anybody that watches the Kickstart podcast, other than maybe Kyle, will even know what I'm referring to. But we might have to drop that in the link.
I'm shocked.
in
I
our
did
links
not
below.
have that on my bingo card for today. That was unbelievable, Dustin.
Hopefully,
Sorry
sorry to cut you off, Mac, but hopefully your
Yeah.
experience down there is a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'll be busy working every day, and then like I said, hopefully find a nice course that's maybe between where I'm living and work or something.
Sure.
100%. So I know Carter alluded to it a little bit. Obviously, we brought you on. The Conductors trust what you're doing. They trust you as an inner organization. I actually can't believe the Conductors brought you on for this episode specifically, but Carter alluded to it a little bit. We're doing a little bit of a mock draft today. Everyone in this chat knows my affinity for mock drafts and just drafting things in general. I mean, Mac, obviously you're not able to participate this year, which does suck. It is great to have you still a part of the group and the organization that you are a back-to-back champ for, but what makes you the qualified expert for the analysis that you're going to give us today? What makes you better than everyone else?
Well, I mean, back-to-back champ. So for starters, I think I know what it takes to win just by being there in the past 2 years. And I don't know, me and Carter think the game alike, especially when it comes to the Kickstart. So I think that's where the trust is. And I don't know, it doesn't seem like anyone's been able to knock us down yet. So
yeah, hopefully a little bit of.
I'll say this for any future captains out there, or Chase. If I would bet Chase is the one person that isn't going to listen to this episode. That's too bad.
He's in Ireland right now. It's not going to help.
You don't win the Kickstart standing over your golf ball. Okay? You win it sitting next to the guy in the golf cart. That's where you win the Kickstart. It's not about how good a golf you play. It's how you two mesh in the cart.
Yeah.
That's what's gonna do.
Flip that take at the bottom. I didn't know where you were going with that, but it makes total sense. Mac, I hope that we don't spoil any, real true insider information, during this. But do you have any ideas of what the captain's strategies are going to be for building their team? Obviously, you've gone through and picked the players, but do you have a good sense of what they're after, or do you think we're going to see guys just go after just straight chalk, just the lowest handicap guys go first, or do you think these guys have a little more strategy in mind other than that?
Well, yeah, we'll see what Chase is about, I guess. But I think with Carter, there's definitely going to be a lot of strategy when it comes to draft night. I could see it. I could see the draft kind of going two ways right now. Either potential trade for picks, or just a straight back-to-back draft. I got two mocks made up. So, I mean, you never know
Mac,
how draft night could go.
Mac, do you think, because I'm sure we're a bit of ways from the actual draft itself, so I can't imagine you and Carter are necessarily talking, in-depth pick-for-pick strategy, but do you think the Conductors organization will look at this as their baseline for their strategy for the season?
I don't know. I mean, it's very early yet, so this is just me throwing out a couple scenarios that could potentially happen. There's nothing set in stone this early, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So let's get right into it. I'm gonna go down the list. The order of the picks is pretty standardized. Carter's gonna get the first pick in round 1. He's gonna get the first pick. He's just gonna have the first pick each round. He's gonna have pick 1-1. Chase will have pick 1-2. Carter will have pick 2-1. Chase will have 2-2. Very basic. We don't have a snake draft for this. It's been kind of our opinion that there's too few players probably to have a snake draft like that. If we were picking from 14 guys or 18 guys, then maybe that would be a little bit different, but it's just straight picks, and Carter has earned the right to have the number 1 overall pick in the Board of Trustees' eyes. So that's one of the advantages that comes with winning the Kickstart the previous year. And then that turns around because Chase is going to have the opportunity to see Carter's pairings for day 1 and then turn around and match whoever he may want to match against them. So Mac, let's get right into it. Number 1 overall. What do you think's going to go down?
Number 1 overall in both of my mocks, I have Carter picking Justin.
It feels a little
Very
bit too good to
What
be
was
true
that?
on that one. It feels good on that one. I would agree on that.
I mean, he's been in top 3 in the low net both years. MVP low net last year, 4-0.
Yeah.
I mean, golf's the guy's job. So I mean,
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
It is my job, and I truly would. Truly, if I don't go number 1 overall in this draft, I truly am gonna have to go full villain mode and just scorched earth, just absolutely murdering anybody that gets put in front of me, because I can't do anything more. All I've done is go out there and catch dubs, and I'm 2-0 in singles. I'm a big part of the reason that the Conductors won. If I can just brag on myself for a second, I would play against any of those guys in the last 2 years and give them as many dots as they wanted. That's how confident I've felt. And if my performance from last year doesn't earn me the number 1 overall pick, it's going to be, the Darth Vader helmet's coming on. I'm going to be, going after. I'm out there for blood at that point.
When was it that Justin said famously, I think it was in the singles round, I just don't know when or at what point in that, he goes, "There's not a single person here who has enough dots to beat me."
that
Which is
that was in the Conductors meeting.
That
talking
was the
about the singles match.
That was in the
thickest
team
line.
room. Yeah, it's a little
thickest
bit
line of the trip.
exposing me a little bit, but that's how I felt. I was playing as good a golf as I've played in a long time, and I would have taken on anybody that they put out there in front of me.
Yeah, and the thing is too, I mean, you want to talk about exposing yourself. How about during the 2-hole funsies scramble, we got 0 balls on dry land. 1 in a fairway bunker that's 150 yards from the green. And Justin going, "No, Dan, try to hit it on the green. I can get up and down from that bunker."
Yeah.
From 150 like it's nothing. And everyone looked at each other like, yeah. You probably could. And having Dan just go hammer down. So moving on.
So
in
who's going number
Chase
2,
picking?
Mac?
I think I put Tricky down.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, he's a stick.
Next lowest handicap. A likely high round pick. Last year's handicap 6. I think he might be on. His gin might be 2 right now.
Yeah, he's down to 2.1 on gin right now, and I know that he, having only played 4 rounds is a little bit different, but I know he has the highest strokes gained number. He played really well to that 6 last year, and he for sure earned, he for sure earned kind of the spotlight in that singles match. I think Preston trusting him to go out there and go toe to toe with me was 100% earned, and I was quite impressed with his game personally.
Yeah. So Chase picks Transit. Who am I going with, Mac?
Yeah. I put Cullen down. I really liked his feedback in one of the surveys I sent out. I think he's going to bring it, and he's coming to win.
He's somebody that hasn't been a part of the Conductors yet. I know he's talked to me about hopefully getting the opportunity to play together a little more often, whether that's as my partner or just getting matched up against me, because we really haven't played much golf together, outside of when we were in college. So it's been quite a while since we've had the opportunity to play much. So I know he would be excited with it.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good fit.
All right. Second pick, second round.
I have Chase picking Cody.
Really?
Cody's a slayer out there.
A good pick. He's a strong player. Very consistent. I think we talked about that in one of our Kickstart stats of the week. I'll pull it up now, but he's hasn't shot outside, his lowest round ever, 73. His highest round ever is 76. Super consistently gaining strokes on the field, scoring average of 75. All 4 rounds in the green last year, so ahead of the stroke average in all 4 rounds last year. He's a really consistent player. I think probably a guy that, in whole we don't all actually know that much about. He doesn't like to talk about himself that much. He's not giving away anything for free out there, but a fun guy. I think he would mesh really well on that team that Chase is starting to put together.
Yeah, I think so too. He's really tough to play against because say like you're not playing well for a couple holes and he's just steady Eddie. He's always on his game.
I thought I was kicking ass in the singles match, and he just was like a boa constrictor and just never let go. And it was one of my best rounds of the year, and it didn't matter. The guy just put it on my throat, and there was nothing I could do.
I mean, when we played against him and Esser, we just couldn't get the water out of the boat. They just kept dumping it in every hole.
Yeah.
And
he and Esser were a really overwhelming team.
Buried us, and I beat both of them by 9 strokes net. One would blow up and the other one would just be chipping in from the forest, and it was every hole.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right.
Yeah, had that gross eagle at the mines last year. People, we've talked about that in a previous podcast, but there's not a lot of eagles coming out, gross eagles coming out of this group, and that was
it a net too?
Well, I don't know if he would have gotten a stroke on that hole or not, but
I don't think he did.
Gross 2 for 2, I guess, would have been a 2 for 1.
Oh, wait, what? He holed out from the fairway, or he hit on the green?
He chipped from down below the green across the green.
While Dan and I were in the bushes looking for our balls.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Oh no, I did know that. Never mind.
It was nasty.
Round 3, pick 5.
I have Carter picking Dan.
Wow.
I really liked his podcast when he was on. It seems like he's putting in the off-season work and I think he was playing once a week. He said it every week, and then
Yeah,
he
he
got
plays
also
once a week at X Golf.
For the
He
Twisted
had a
Tees.
wedding in January, down in Mexico. Didn't take his clubs with him, but because of that wedding, he pushed off his dry January challenge to February. Pretty sure he already failed that, but he said, "I'm not drinking the rest of February." So, a lot of opportunity for improvement there as well.
Right.
If he can focus that energy into golf, there could be a big burst in Dan's ability.
yeah. Plus,
Yeah.
didn't he get a hole in one too?
Yeah,
X Golf
he had a
hole-in-one.
hole in one at X Golf, 208 yards downhill,
Damn.
landed just over the bunker in the fringe and trickled right down into the holes. Pretty sick shot. I want to say he was deciding excuse me, he was deciding between a 6 and a 7 iron for that shot, and I don't remember which one he picked, but it was the right one.
Hang it in the Louvre.
Yeah, and I think he's a good team guy. I like what he brings to the table. He's always
Great team guy.
bringing booze, good
Brings beers to
attitude.
the table, that's for sure.
Yeah,
And Twisted Tea bags. Now,
Yeah,
he can smack those around.
that's a callback from, what was that, episode 4? All right,
absolutely.
pick 6. Who's Chase going with, Mac?
Preston. Yeah, I have him taking Preston. I mean, he's another tough guy to match up against.
Yeah.
Yeah, has a really solid individual record.
Mhm.
Stroke average not super low, but there's some intangibles going on when you got to play against Preston. Everybody knows he likes to get the ball rolling, and so yeah, a good pick, a solid pick, a tough guy to play against. Takes a lot of willpower to beat him in a match for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys that plays, half his match is mental and verbal, right? I mean,
Yeah,
he's not afraid to run his mouth a little bit and try to get the edge that way, which in a tournament like this, you don't see that a whole lot. So yeah, I mean, he's definitely a key player if he goes to whichever team he goes to.
for sure.
Yep.
All right, round 4, pick 1. Pick
Uh,
pick number 7 overall.
yep. Number 7 overall, I have Esser going to the Conductors.
Building quite a squad. Esser had a tough round in the singles match. Not his best round, but was an absolute killer in that first match. And I think, depending who you pair him up with, can be really, really dangerous. He's a guy that has a good amount of golf experience, played golf in high school, and so I think he'd admit maybe he was a little nervous in a event like this, but definitely not as much as some other guys having some competitive golf experience.
Yeah. I mean, we already talked about it, his match with Cody. I mean, he's a guy that can make birdies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Regardless of his dots, which he isn't exactly a slouch for a guy that can find his way with a handful of strokes.
Right. Yeah, a
Yeah.
good total score to stroke ratio, probably, for sure. He's using those strokes when he has them, and has the ability to kind of birdie any hole whether he does or doesn't.
Right.
Yeah, he can get hot. That's for sure.
3 guys left on the board.
Yep, bottom 3 here. No offense to Flop, but there's some worries out there about that knee of his, and he wasn't at the last Kickstart. So no offense to Flop, I have him as the last pick in both drafts. But okay, pick 8. I sadly have Chase picking Kyle.
Kyle, going to the other side, away from the Conductors.
It's unfortunate. He'll be the first guy trying to defend a Kickstart title on another team.
Right.
Correct.
I will say playing with Chase in the singles match was a joy. So getting to play with Chase again, while it would be a bummer to leave the Conductors organization, I would love to do it with Chase. And God, would I love to put it down Carter's throat a little bit and hold up that trophy. But
Well, and for sure,
Get off your wallet.
would make a lot of sense for Chase strategically to go and get somebody he has because he's
Right.
played with Cody a little bit. He didn't really play with Trick. I don't think we played against Trick in the team matches last year. Didn't play with Trick in the singles match either. He's got a little experience with Cody. He's been around Preston for sure. They were on that PC3 team together. Makes a lot of sense for Chase to go with Kyle and get another guy that he's kind of comfortable with pairing himself with. And then, as we all know, Kyle can make a great partner for anybody on this team that he's sort of shaped up.
Yeah, I agree. And
Yeah, so then we take Fetty with the
which
last
means
pick
Fetty
of our side.
Fetty
we
goes
got
to the
Fettuccine
Conductors
Alfredo.
and
Yeah, Federal. He's going to be fresh off of his first season of pro hockey. That
In
is
shape.
unless, and people don't
100%.
realize a lengthy playoff run for Fetty could make things a little sweaty coming up on the Kickstart, but selfishly we hope that it doesn't go that way and we can get him in the 5th round.
Is this too good?
I think as his
But-
friend, we hope that he has a lot of success and maybe that he misses the Kickstart. But I think, yeah, selfishly, we hope that he bows out early, has time to practice some golf, and then be a strong player for the Conductors.
Yeah.
He'll have the dots, so
He's got dots for sure. It's
Got
just,
dots.
he is without a doubt gonna find more golf balls than he loses. Think about picking up that bag out of the back of the truck after Diamond Springs. I mean, this thing was 80 pounds.
He goes in some weird places, and he's got a great eye.
he does have a great eye.
I found 82 balls today, so actually I'm not even. What? Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have Fetty. I know I've played quite a bit of golf with him. Like where his game has been, and can be. So, it would be great to have any of these guys on our team.
I'm coming to the realization, I think we touched on it earlier. I can't remember if we were recording or not, but I want somebody to just stick us together. See if we can out-dot somebody. I think it'd be so much fun.
Yeah, you and
Fetty?
Fetty.
Even if we didn't win, we'd have
Maybe in
fun
the
doing it.
practice round.
Yeah.
Maybe we put you guys in the cart for the practice round. And then, if I'm there and Chase isn't there, then I get a little insider info to see how that played out.
Worked for you last year, I suppose.
For sure.
All right, you guys
For
want
sure.
to hear my other crazy scenario?
Yeah, you want to let's run through it real quick. I'm not going to throw it up on the
Yeah,
screen,
you don't need
but
to do that.
Well,
You
let's
know.
hold on. Let's talk about Michael. Just quickly.
Oh yeah.
Because he would default to Chase's team. Whatever he comes up with a name for it, we'll start referring to it as that. But Flop's a guy, like Max said, coming off a knee injury that kept him out last year. How's that gonna affect his game? Last year, how much practice did he get in? Where's his game at? Where's his mind at? Is he gonna be able to rise to the occasion of winning it and then taking a year off and now coming back where there's some guys in the field that have a lot more experience?
Sure. Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. And one thing I will fill in, he is engaged to his fiance Alex, and they her family lives in Wisconsin. He's gonna have an opportunity to make a couple trips over there, and she played college golf, I think, as we know, and so he's gonna have some opportunity to practice for sure. We'll just see how that knee's holding up. The last that I heard was it was doing really well, but it's not an unconscious thing yet. So we'll see what's going on with it. Could be really telling if he shows up for the practice round, or if he pops up somewhere playing golf and you see a knee brace on. I'm sure the experts would be interested to gain a little more information about something like that.
Right. And the other thing you take into account looking at him in the draft is 4 rounds of golf, some drinking, and probably not the best sleep on that knee.
Yeah.
How's it gonna hold up when we get to singles?
I think it's also worth noting, from my understanding, the Kickstart's a different league than it was from year 1 to year 2, and I'm sure we'll see a little bit of that evolution going into year 3 from what I've heard. There is going to be some adapting there, obviously for all of us, but especially a guy that missed year 2 and was a part of the founding group. Shout out to founders. Was a part of the founding group.
Yeah, certainly. Flop played a key role in us securing the trophy in the first year. Me and him took down Chase, and I believe it was Cullen in round 3 of the first year. And that putter that he's got, it gets hot out of nowhere.
Yep. Mac, let's run through your sort of your chaos scenario if you want to. Let's go through it kind of quick and see. I think you got some interesting things shaking out here.
Yeah, I do, definitely. So I have Carter trading for the 2nd overall pick, giving Chase 3, 4, 5, and 6. So Chase would have 4 in a row after Carter's first 2.
Wow. Okay.
Well, the same that we did.
Yeah.
With my same trade as Preston's last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I would have been in hiding if we didn't win the Kickstart last year.
For sure.
Yeah.
That would have been the blunder of the century.
All right, you want to hear the picks?
Yeah, so let's go through them. Give me Carter's 1 and 2 right back to back.
Justin, Tricky.
All right. In that order?
Yep.
All right.
If this were to happen, I want you guys to know that I would pick Trick 1.
We'd have a mutiny.
Just to boil Justin's blood and make him go out and do it again. Just to wave that carrot in front of his face again.
So Chase rips down the next
4.
Yeah, I haven't.
Wow.
I haven't taken Cullen, Cody, Preston, Esser.
Wow. So reviving the entire team from year one.
Yep. And adding Esser.
Right, who is a really dangerous pairing specifically for Cody.
Right.
Okay, and
Then Carter's got the next two in this scenario.
yep, Dan and Kyle.
Dan and Kyle. So going after the guys he sort of had last year again.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Successful team.
Basically, it's the team from last year, just a trade Chase for Trick so
Yeah.
far.
So far. And then Chase will have his pick in round 5 before Carter still.
Yes.
Oh, I won this trade for sure. I got the last 2 picks against Preston. I didn't get 2 in a row.
And you're saying that Michael ends up as the last.
On mine, I had Chase getting 9.
Okay. So Michael going to Chase in this situation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or Fetty.
Oh, and then the dream would come true.
No.
Oh.
No, I have Chase picking Fetty at 9.
Okay.
And then Carter gets last.
Gets flop. So everybody that's been on the Conductors before, except for Chase, it appears.
Transit.
Tricky.
Yeah.
So I get Transit for Chase and
Michael for Brendan.
Michael for
Yeah.
Brendan and
I hope that knee pans out.
Very interesting for sure. We've got, a lot of familiarity. I don't know if it's going to build some rivalries, but maybe,
maybe.
It's real early yet though, so that you could run 100 of these scenarios through your head, honestly.
I love the idea of Chase just saying, "Fuck it, we can beat them. Let's run it back with that team last year. We'll give them our
Chase
alleged
leaving
best."
Chase leaving the Conductors and saying, "Nah, that's a bunch of scrubs over there."
Right.
He's going MJ. I'm going over here and I'll win it with them.
Except MJ couldn't win without Scotty.
LeBron leaving Cleveland, saying, "Nah, I'll go win it over here with these scrubs." He'll be back.
There's some sickness going around in this podcast, I think.
Mac, while we have you here, go ahead and give me your prediction for the champion of the 24 Kickstart Invitational, and then also speculate on who you think will be the next captain in 2025, with some new players being eligible.
So who do I think's gonna win next year?
Yeah, me or Chase. You think the
Oh,
Conductors can go for the three-peat?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think we got it. There's
That's
not
why.
a doubt.
That's why he's the insider. That's why he makes the call.
Yeah, he's associated with the Conductors for a reason. These colors don't run.
Oh sure. I'll even give you a early potential MVP for the 2024 Kickstart.
Really?
Yeah.
Give us them all. Give us MVP, low net, and Carlisle Frazier unsung hero.
Okay, I'll go low net for Carter.
A prove it year. I'm not gonna lie to you. The scores last year were solid. but needed to sort of repeat that to clean up his record a bit. And if his handicap's going to keep coming down, we're going to have to see some really, really good golf from him next year. But I like the prediction. He's definitely trending in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely got my eyes on the low net. It's something that I have always kind of wanted to try to go after. But in reality, I think it's going to be a little bit hard to repeat what I did in the first year, having 8 strokes then, and probably going to have 5 or less coming in this year with a lot of golf to be played here in the
two,
spring.
and then down to 4 potentially for 2024.
So I'm winning low net. Who's coming home with the MVP? Brendan.
Yeah, so obviously I have the Conductors winning, and I don't see a situation where Justin won't be on the Conductors, and I think he's gonna just run away with it no matter who's up against him, and I'm gonna put him as the early MVP candidate.
It's likely. It's possible for sure.
I appreciate it. I don't know, how I'm caught in between, should I stick to my guns and still, just kind of sort of play the villain and play that plus handicap where it's, I'm the professional out here. I'm the one that everyone's eyeing, and I'm stuck between that and trying to play a more team role, and we'll see. I know for sure if I don't go number 1 overall what my feelings are going to be, but I think if I do, maybe I take on a little bit more of a leadership role, an assistant captain type of thing, and try to make some influence both on and off the course. But I agree with your thinking that if the number 1 overall pick, if his team's going to win, he's going to have to perform. And whoever that ends up being, whether Carter trades away that number 1 pick and Chase takes somebody, if his team's going to win, that number 1 pick is going to have to perform big time.
Yep, for sure.
How about the unsung hero?
I'm gonna go with Cullen this one, and just because I think no matter what team he's on, he's gonna bring the heat in a couple matches and earn his team a couple big points for sure.
Yeah.
Not to mention a great off the course guy.
Absolutely.
As we all know.
Incredible presence off the course.
He brings a lot to the table, for sure. And then, yeah. So you have me winning, repeating as captain in 2025. Who do you have as the next contender? Remember that the captaincy rules have played 2 years to be eligible and have waited a 2-year captaincy cool down. So Cullen will be eligible again. Justin, Kyle.
The only ones that will be ineligible for 2025 are going to be Preston and Chase.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
you could be eligible again as well.
I could be
coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of hope I'm not, just because I would like to be a part of the Conductors, just because that's what I'm about.
Good PR out of this guy.
But
oh my God, it's unbelievable.
I would have to say
the Patriot way.
I mean, the guy, we lived next rooms next to each other for damn near 2 years, 3 years almost.
This is.
We got the same tattoo on our thigh.
Yeah. We got the
Brandon,
same hat on right now.
Why don't you give us your pick before this turns into too much of a Conductors slurp session here?
I don't know. I think Cody would make a good captain, or Kyle would too.
Really?
A couple real cerebral guys.
Yeah, definitely. They after there'll be a couple veterans. Cody little bigger vet than Kyle, but Kyle thinks the game, and I don't know how passionate he is, and so. But Cody's an assassin. Either would be good.
For sure. Kyle,
Yeah.
why don't we start to wrap this up? I'll send it over to Carter. Can you play us out with our second sponsor here?
Yeah. Unfortunately, our favorite segment is not going to be played out in this episode. The Founders Brewed for Us segment, where we talk about what we want to talk about, but quite honestly, we talked about what we want to talk about this whole time. So
Yeah, the whole thing was almost a Brewed for Us segment.
we'll just say thanks again to Founders Brewing Company. You can always sit back, grab your favorite Founders brew, and just like we like to on that Monday night, sit around, have a few drinks, have a few laughs, and enjoy all Founders has to offer. So we like to thank them for sponsoring another episode of the Kickstart Invitational podcast.
I'll say this: the Nitro Rubaeus was the first ever craft beer I ever had before I dove into the world of craft beer. So shout out Founders, shout out Dunham's as well. Mac, appreciate you joining us. It was an absolute pleasure. God knows we're gonna miss you this year, but appreciate you joining us. You're welcome back whenever you'd like.
Congrats to you and Kennedy as well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Congrats
say hi
to you,
to her.
really. Just
Say,
impressive stuff. Congratulations.
yeah, honestly.
Thank you.
Say
I appreciate
say
it.
hi to the girls for me. Give Zuri a big snug, and me and you we'll for sure be in contact here after looking at what you think the draft is going to be. We might have to have some conversations.
I don't like how he said that. I don't like how he
Yeah,
said that.
There's some
That was
some stuff
all right.
going
We're
on
gonna
in the background.
we're checking off here. Jay, Carter, Mac, love you guys. Appreciate you guys listening. Until next week.
Thanks for
Love you
having me,
guys.
Kyle.
See you next week.
Love you guys.